Irony. Irony is when you say something, but you mean the opposite of what you say. For example, let's say we are in a class and a boy enters the class or a student enters the class. Now this student is very short, and so we say, oh, here comes the tallest guy in our class. That is what? Irony. Why? Because you are referring to the opposite of what you just said. That is what? Irony. You say something, but you mean the opposite of what you say. Oh, I love this your set of teeth. It looks so beautiful. Meanwhile, the teeth are not beautiful. Meanwhile, the teeth are not white. You say, oh, I love this your set of teeth. That is what? Irony. Okay? That's irony. Now, irony, you say something, you made the opposite of what you say. Now, that would happen. I am dark in complexion now, for example, and I say, oh, Mr. Literature is fair in complexion. That is what irony, because I say something, but actually mean the word the opposite of what I say. Now, that would make sense in a physical setting where you know me and I know you, right? You say, oh, I am fair in complexion when you actually mean dark in complexion. That is irony. Now we have types of irony. Now before we go there, right? Now let's look at a more easier example in exam for exam instances. So for example, if I say um he is so she okay, let's use she is so beautiful that all boys run away from her. She is so beautiful that all boys run away from her. Now you know that if a girl is beautiful, what happens? Boys start to roam around her. Hey, hello, I am Mr. Literature, I would like us to be, being like football, blah blah blah. Now imagine that the girl is beautiful and people start to run away from the girl. That is an irony. So in sentence we say the girl is so beautiful that all boys run away from her. That means she's what? She's not beautiful. If she's really beautiful, what happens? Boys do not run away from beautiful girls. Girls do not run away from beautiful boys. Right? That is irony. Another example, the goalkeeper is so good that he what? He considered 7 goals in a single match. That is irony. I say something and I mean the opposite. What did I mean? I mean that what is what? The keeper is not good at all. Another example, we say that the student is a brilliant student in the class, even though he came last in the class. That is what? Irony, right? So in that statement, the point I'm trying to make now is that in the statement, we can identify that we actually referring to the opposites. But if I just say the guy is brilliant, if there's no context there, then I can't know that that's the irony. Do you understand? So if I say the guy is so brilliant, even though he came last in class, that is what? Irony. The guy is so beautiful. The guy is so rich that what? That he drinks tap water. There are some people like that, but they will never buy pure water or bottled water. They will hold their bottle and then go and look for any tap. They will open the tap and they will drink from the tap. Tap water is clean. Are you sure? So that's irony, right? So irony is when we say something and we mean the opposite. So if I say I love you, even though say I love you, even though you are my most hated person. That's irony. You get the gist, right? Now we have types of irony. Types of irony. Now we have what we call the verbal irony. So verbal is when you say something, but you mean the opposite. For example, I like this your set of teeth, right? This happens when we know that person, right? That's a verbal irony. So verbal is we say something, but we mean the opposite of what we say. That's verbal irony, right? The second one is we have what we call the situational irony. Situational irony is when you expect that something would happen, but the opposite of that thing happens. You're expecting a particular event to happen, but you are met with the opposite of that event. I'll give you 2 examples. The first example, let's say you sit for an exam and you're like, this exam was the exam. I I I, I butchered the exam. I killed the exam. Okay, and then you saw your results. Now you were expecting, let's say 70 something, and then you found 11 over 100. You're like, huh? What is this? That is situational irony. Why? Because what you were expecting to happen, what happened? The opposite of that thing happened. That's a situational irony. Or you not prepare for an exam and you see that you are in the top 5 students. Be like, how did this happen? That is what situational irony. That means that what we're expecting to happen, what happened? The opposite of that thing happened. That's what we call situational irony. Another example is a girl goes to her father and tells her father, I want to go for Bible study. So she was wearing a long gown, all those obey the wind type of gown. And then her father tells her, oh, I won't also be around for today. I'm going to my friend's uncle, sister, auntie, niece burial ceremony. Say, okay, no problem. And then the girl, the daughter, goes to meet her friend. She changes her gown to macaroni and spaghetti and show me your chest and show me your everything. And then they move to a club. They go to a club to go and enjoy. Luckily, the father is also going to a club. And so the father enters the club and sees a fine girl backing him. He's like, oh, see this fine girl. Let me call this fine girl. Let's dance. And he said, hello, beauty. And the girl turns, hello, and son. Daddy, daughter, what happens? They will drag themselves like this outside. That's what situational irony. Why? Because the daughter did not expect to find her father there. Meanwhile, the father too did not also expect to find his daughter there. That is what situation irony. We're expecting something to happen, but then the opposite of that thing happens. The child that would think that would fail eventually tops the class. The child that would think that would pass eventually what was it? Became the last in class. That is irony. That is situational irony. Another type of irony that we have is dramatic irony. So this one happens mostly in drama or in novels. So this is when the audience knows something. The audience or the readers know something that the other characters do not know. When the audience or the readers know something that the other characters do not know. That is what we call dramatic irony. Dramatic irony. So let's paint a scene. So let's say that somebody, let's call him Brother Daily. Brother Daily introduced a business to you. He said, if you add 100 naira, you get 200 naira. If you add 200 naira, you get 400 naira. You get 500 naira, you get 1,000 naira. Yeah, wow. And then they add you to their group, to the online group. And then people will say, send a screenshot. Oh, I've just been paid. I dropped 10,000. I have 20,000. Think this thing is making sense. Meanwhile, you just got admission to study law. And luckily for you, your father sent you, let's say 500,000 naira to your account to go and pay for for your tuition fee. And you're like, okay, if I drop 500,000 in this business, I'm gonna get 1 million. Wow, that 500 can go and buy iPhone, I'll buy new clothes, I'll do all those girls. Then go collect. Then go collect. Okay. And so you give Baladele your money, and Baladele absconded with your money. And so you were unable to enter the university to study law. You have to write another jam. Now let's say you go to a tutorial to study, to learn, and Baladele is also a student in that tutorial. And they are just walking down this, side by side with the person. You're like, this person, I think I know this person. But Adele, you just drag him like this. That is all dramatic irony. So while all of those things were happening, when you started the tutorial, the audience knows that the Adele that collected money from you is also in the same tutorial. Okay, that's what we call dramatic irony. So those are the 3 types of irony. We have the verbal irony, what we say verbally. I love this, your set of teeth. You are master, you are so Mr. Literature. You are fair in complexion. Okay. So that is what verbal irony. Then we have situational irony, right? You are expecting a particular situation to happen, but you are met with the opposite of that situation. You might be reading a poem. You might be reading a poem, and you expect that the poem is going to end happily. What happens? What happens? It ends unhappily. Just like we have a government driver on retirement by Chibike Onu. A government driver on retirement by Chibike Onu. So when you start reading the poem, like, okay, this poem will end happily. The driver is retiring, he's so happy, blah blah blah. They give him a brand new car and he starts to drive, and like suddenly he dies driving the car. That is what is situational irony. Why? Because we do not expect that that particular thing would happen. That's what we call situational irony. Next one.